the progress in gender equality, and what kind of challenges?
All these things must be clarified before you can even start. And then you must know the baseline of where did you start from, because otherwise the companies that are responsible for this trading will not be able to verify whether or not what you say you have captured is really captured. And then when you sell it on the global market and get money for it, you have to have an agreement. Either it goes to the company itself, and that all the compensation that the villages and the society around it is going to have is already given, or you may have an agreement saying that some of it will be channeled back to the villages. So that it all depends. But what is important, I think, is that it is quite clear right from the start how whatever profits there will be from carbon capture sale is going to be distributed.
Okay. There's a lot of talk about using alternative sources of energy in trying to deal with deforestation. But then, what are the alternatives? You know, it's in the theory part of it. It's, you know, makes sense. But in practice, if a family needs a meal for the day, you know, how is somebody not going to cut down a tree in order to get fuel? Where out of the person is doing that out of necessity, because there's nothing, there's no alternative there. There's a talk about using wind energy and solar energy. But then again, I go to in rural communities especially, where even the money to buy that kind of technology is a challenge. So what's the way forward here?
Yeah. No, again, as I've said earlier, if I had the answer, I would be very rich, I think. I think that it's slow work, definitely. Because as you're saying, wind energy, it's very sort of not so sophisticated technically as solar energy, but still sophisticated. But I understand that there are areas in Tanzania which has enormous potential, where there's stable and good winds almost throughout the year, which is one of the prerequisites. Solar energy, of course, is probably what should have the greatest potential, but it's still so expensive that it's sort of prohibitive for a normal poor family. So as the solar energy becomes more accessible, I'm sure that that's going to be one of the sources that more and more people will use. In the meantime, I think you're absolutely right. If you don't have an alternative, you've got to accept that people cut down woods. But I see that many projects and programs try to, and everybody knows, people know that this is probably not good in the long run. But you have no choice. You are eating today, not in 5 years' time. But all the programs where you have tree planting of different kinds, so that when you cut, you also plant, in order to be able to have a steady supply of new wood. You plant wood that grow quickly and can give reasonably good firewood and so on. Those are projects which I have seen in many parts of the country have a very positive effect. In addition to the fact that, of course, they reduce the loss of topsoil because of water running off all the good elements in the topsoil everywhere, which is the biggest challenge, I think, when it comes to deforestation in this country. Because you see the whole Eastern Arc Mountain, which is catchment area for I don't know how big a percentage of the population, and the hydropower plants, but where deforestation, if it reaches too high a level, will really threaten the well-being of everybody in society.
Okay. Europe is going through its own economic problems at the moment. Are they? What are the implications of this? Will it have any impact on development projects for us in developing countries and in Tanzania?
It still remains to be seen. I've seen that several of the big countries, at least, have said that they will protect their development programs and development cooperation budgets, even though they have to make dramatic cuts at home. And there seems to be a fairly high acceptance for that. But in the long run, if the crisis persists and drags on, one must expect that it will have consequences for absolutely all budgetary allocations. So, but so far, it's not what we have seen. And some of the worst hit countries have not perhaps been among the biggest donors. So it's still too early to say what the consequences will be.
Tanzania is one of the biggest beneficiaries of general budget support from Norway and developing partners. Is that a worrying thing? Because shouldn't this end up the government budget being self-sufficient, the government being able to collect as much money as it can in order to fund development projects, as opposed to relying on general budget support?
Yeah, I think that the government obviously has a very, very clear ambition to be independent of the need for development support, and that they are constantly, I think, putting the date for that to happen closer and closer. General budget support, to my mind, has been a very important way of giving support to a government. For many reasons, but one of them is that it goes into the general budget, so it's discussed in Parliament, so the ownership element becomes stronger. It also has come with a very clear commitment from Tanzania to improve its financial management, which it has done, and where it scores very highly when it comes to the improvements that have been made. It also came with a very clear commitment to allocation of funds to the social sector, which we have seen in the tremendous increase in the number of students in healthcare facilities and so on. 30% of the budget, I think, in the last 5 years at least, have gone to the social sector, which is very, very high in any country. So it has, and it was meant to have the effect that donors should not be micromanaging projects and programs. That should be left to the government. Of course, the temptation for donors to go very far into micromanagement is always there, because that's one of the things that we feel we know how to do. So it's always important for the donors to keep a distance and look at the overall issues and the overall improvements. But I also think we work a lot on with the tax TRA in Tanzania. They look to Norway because we're very good at taxation in our own country. We have 5 million inhabitants, less than 5, but we have 3.8 million taxpayers. Tanzania has 40+ million inhabitants and 556,000 taxpayers. So we feel that there's an enormous potential there for the country in some years' time to make itself independent of development cooperation by increasing the taxation of the formal sector, and an even bigger potential if taxation of the informal sector in this country can slowly be made formal and enter the tax-paying community. Okay. It's a very happy community.
Okay. I'm afraid on that note, we'll have to leave it there. We've just run out of time. I'd like to thank my guest, the Ambassador of Norway to Tanzania, Her Excellency Ingunn. Join me next week, same time, same place, for more of the agenda.